A 21-year-old broke a 42-year-old record in the recent Pakistan vs Australia series. This is Amar, and here with me is Hamza, and we are here to deep dive into Pakistan vs Australia recent concluded ODI series. This is not a typical setup, Hamza, but we have to make use of whatever we have today.
Yep, I think that speaks volumes about your dedication. Amar is traveling right now, but I think we're lucky that he was able to find time to record this podcast. But let's
No, of
let's
course,
get
always.
right into it. Yeah, we'll keep this one a
Mhm.
little short. We just want to review the recently concluded Pakistan versus Australia series. As you can see in the previous podcast, we did talk about building towards the ODI World Cup in 2027. We had some players that we wanted the team to bring into. We'll deep dive into the exact squad that was picked up. A lot of talking points on the squad selection itself, Amar. Two of our
Yeah,
favorites, Arafat
100%.
Minhas, the star boy, who will again come towards, and Ahmed Daniel were picked into the squad. A couple of surprising omissions as well. Fakhar Zaman, nowhere to be found, as well as Mohammad Rizwan dropped from the ODI team despite being the best ODI batter in the country over the last 12 months. Not indefinitely, but yeah, stats wise being the best ODI batter in 2025 for Pakistan. But yeah, Amar, what are your thoughts on the squad that was
I'm
selected?
really disagree, Hamza. I think Mohammad Rizwan was the best ODI captain, ODI batsman if you just look at the runs. But I think for me, if you're building up a new team towards a 1.5 year later World Cup, शायद रिजवान नहीं आता टीम में. मतलब रिजवान is very timid. He showed us that he cannot really accelerate. And मुझे लगता है Harrison just doesn't like him. He's not in his good books. I don't know whether it is. I think in Mazhar Arshad का ट्विटर where he talked about how Rizwan is essentially inflexible, right? For example, Ghazi Goli जब आया था, even in his post interview, he was like, I don't mind betting at number three, four, or five. I think Rizwan has time and time again told us that he does not want to bet somewhere lower. And I think that speaks volume of what Hassan sees in the team and especially the kind of flexibility he wants. But yeah, having said that, I think as you mentioned, some omissions, some debatable choices, especially around Shadab Khan, and some new choices like Arafat and Ahmad Daniel, which I think we both spoke very highly of in the last podcast as well. But just to give a bit of glance, right? We know Pakistan won 2-1. There was three matches that took place, one in Rawalpindi and two in Lahore. The first one was Pakistan, is the one that Pakistan won by 5 wickets, the most comfortable win, I would say. The second one, Pakistan lost in Lahore, and the third one, essentially, Pakistan also won, but it was slightly on a, I would say it was a, I don't know what that pitch was, and we'll talk about a bit on that. But yeah, and the player of the series of the entire Pakistan versus Australia series was Arafat Minhas, someone we both spoke highly of. He scored 60 runs. Mind you, he comes at like number six, number seven, and had 7 wickets on his debut series, which is a great number for us and great number for Pakistan and prospect as well. So what we'll do essentially, Hamza, is that what I will give a brief overview of each match just to get started of match one, two, three, and then we'll talk about the main points, which is obviously there's a lot of criticism around spin, there's a lot of criticism around Shadab Khan, and of course there's a lot of praise to be made about Arafat. So for the first match, right? Played in Rawalpindi. And what we sort of were confused with is that it was a very dry spin friendly deck. Short and carry at the beginning, put like a 32 and 6 overs, but then the pitch was dead. It was spinning. It seemed like a, I don't know, it seemed like old Bangladesh where pitches used to spin like that. And then eventually we won the match where Babar, obviously being Babar, scored 69 of 94, and Ghazi Gori also scored his first maiden ODI 50. But the highlight of this match was, of course, Arafat Minhas with 5 for 32, and he was the first person who really stood out to everyone at that point. The second match essentially is the one that got away, I would say, was when Australia sort of scored 231, which was already a bit too much. Then Pakistan sort of jumbled down to 190 with Cam Green scoring 53 of 92, and Pakistan obviously collapsing as always from 70. Let's say it was fine in the beginning, and then 78 for six happened with obviously Nathan Ellis sort of running through us our entire middle order
Yeah,
in a one go.
yeah.
The third match, the decider, was a good match, started well. The collapse essentially happened with Australia. They were 119 for three, and they were 157 all out. Player of the match was Shaheen, who played brilliantly. I think he bowled in very nice channels, was able to anchor innings as well in some way or the form. On the batting side, I think Babar was the highest run scorer, with Mars just closely following him as well. And then after, we also saw a collapse, but eventually Shadab and Abdul Samad guided us home, and then we had a 49 seventh wicket partnership, which eventually led us to the victory.
Thank you for giving that deep dive.
Yeah, go ahead. So I was just giving an overall review of what happened in the match one, match two, and match three. But over to you, Hamza.
I think there are some consistent themes that could be derived from the three-match series. I think one big talking point is the pitches, and I think Mike Hesson himself made comments about it. There's been a lot of backlash online by journalists, by fans, etc. on X, on different platforms about Pakistan making pitches into belters. While I agree with the strategy that as hosts, you get to play to your strengths or the weaknesses of your opponents, and this generally works well when you're playing into the Test Championship, which is, which every bilateral series counts towards something. I don't necessarily agree with the strategy that Mike Hessen said that in Namibia or in Zimbabwe or in Pearl in last year in 2024 when we went to South Africa, the pitches will turn a little bit, which is why we prepared pitches that will spin a lot. I think we're not going to play the World Cup in India next year. We are not going to play the World Cup in Sri Lanka or Bangladesh. We are going to play a World Cup in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia, where majority of the pitches, let's say 60 to 70 of the pitches, our fast bowlers will be tested. Our batters will be tested against genuine pace and not pitches where the ball is going to turn literally meters. And I feel like that's like one theme where I'm sort of against it. But I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
So essentially, I see a lot of debate, like a lot of podcasts, like Pro Sports. I think Backward Point also dealt with it. Is that there's and fans are also slightly confused as to what's going on. But look, I think while I do agree that yes, we should be going towards the 27 World Cup, and that should be our main focus, and there's no denial there. But the thing is, the World Cup is still 1.5 year later, right? It's not right now. So I'm not saying that, sometimes you need these small wins. For example, we are coming from a very bad Bangladesh series. We have not won a lot of things at home. So maybe it's not a bad idea entirely to play for that particular win. Now, one could argue whether that's really important since it's a bilateral series, doesn't add anything, and I'm all for that. But if you look at the holistic picture, we still got to try a couple of things, right? For example, Sahibzada and Mars are not our primary openers. They are our backup options. Like Fakhar and Sam will probably open first. So you
Probably.
got that at certain point.
I'm saying probably. You never know with the selectors and with
Yeah,
the
you
players.
never know. But I would say that and let's say Samad as well, right? Samad is not doesn't walk into the ODI team generally. Yeah, I don't know. मतलब अगर हम किसी और की example लेते हैं, I don't know if you want to count Rizwan as the backup or not, but you get the point. Arafat was also debuting, so he needed a perfect chance as well. I think while I do agree that yes, we could have tried more, we could have made better pitches. But look, at the end of the day, we need to be slightly less critical because if the World Cup was 2 months away, look, then I would agree. I would like, yeah, man, this is horrible. What are you guys doing? But the World Cup is still 18 months away, man. Oh, sorry, 15 months away. So maybe I feel like take the win. Like I think Behram on Pro Sports said something like he wanted Pakistan to lose. And for me, that just icks me. Like, you cannot, if you are a Pakistan fans, like a fan or cricket fan supporter, then you cannot ask for that. Yes, it was not ideal, but it wasn't that bad.
I see where you're coming from, but more or less, I think of this as a smoke screen rather than just to
Mm,
mask our faults, because what this does is that it masks our fault. So in the eye of the general media or in the
mm,
eye of the coach or in the eye of spectators, oh, we defeated Australia, oh, we defeated an under strength Australia team. And I'm of course, no one likes to lose series, right? Everyone wants to win.
yeah,
But if we from here on to the World Cup we end up winning every series but end up performing
yeah,
horribly at the World Cup versus we losing more matches but trying to find the right combination and going on to perform really
mm,
well in the World Cup and might as well ending up winning it 2 years down the line. I think I'd much rather prefer the latter route than going with the former, which is to just stat pad right now. That's my take, but I also see merit in what you're saying. We are down and out. So right now, so if there was a team in international cricket that could really do with a win, it was us. So, in that regard,
yeah.
I think it was a confidence or a morale booster.
To sum it up, right? I think there was a very important question, which was that does the confident boosting series win override actually preparing for the World Cup, which is 16 months out? Now, for me, that answer is maybe yes, given how low we are. And for other people, it could be no. I agree with, like, I don't entirely agree with that school of thought, but I could see logic behind it. By the end of the day, I think there were more things that then I think Pakistan didn't do very well. And for me, the first thing that I think Pakistan should have done is to at least change the playing 11. I understand the logic behind, okay, Arafat is debuting, there's a backup option and all of those, and I'm all for it. But I wanted to see Ahmed Daniel play. I wanted to
Yeah.
see Sufyan Mukim play.
Yeah.
and it just never happened.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's one part that icked me off as well. I understand for once we wanted to give fair chances to people who were playing. Like, it was
Mm.
hardly to see that you would stick with Maz for 3 games. It was heartening to see that you would stick with Sahibzada Farhan, you would stick with Haris Rauf, you would stick with everyone. But at the same time, it felt a little unnecessary that if you're gonna select Ahmed Daniel, the guy's done no harm,
Mm.
right? Like I think 2 years ago debuted in against Bangladesh, was one of our best bowlers. But then I think he was
Yeah,
rotated out for a series and then eventually dropped. So I think,
yeah, 100%.
and especially given like we've in the past previous podcast, we've talked about his ability to be a batter as well, alongside his bowling, of course, an
Yeah, yeah.
all-phase bowler. It would make sense for us to have given him a chance. Plus, I think the selection. Let's come to the selection in a bit, but I agree with you. The
Mm.
fact that we didn't rotate enough ticked me
Yeah.
off a little bit as well.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think we can move to selection now because what I want to do is I want to sort of deal with these major topics at the beginning. And then I want to spend most of our time sort of into player rating, where we go through each player, talk about their performance, and how do we rate them out of 10.
Right, right. So I think in terms of the theme of selection itself, right? Like just some
Mm.
sort of conclusive remarks from me is that I think it sort of builds into the next problem that for me was a consistent theme. Was this the squad composition or the playing 11 composition? I feel like that
Mm.
Mike Hessen coming out and saying that Shadab when he started out was a bowler, but now he's a primarily a batter for us who can bowl a few overs here and there. I think it again highlighted one consistent theme that we've seen in Hessen's squad selection over the last couple of years is that his obsession with all-rounders and bits and piece players. And I
Yeah.
think if you're going with two fast bowlers in your bowling attack, with a number eight
Mm.
who's more of a batter than a bowler, it leaves you short-handed in bowling department. And I think that's what happened to us in the T20 World Cup in Sri Lanka as well. Even though I think on paper we had six
Yeah.
bowling options, but we had Rana Fahim Ashraf playing in at number eight, but he was not bowling, right? Then what's the point of playing him at a number eight?
Yeah.
And I think that's where my
Yeah.
issue lies with Mike Hessen's recent squad composition. We'll maybe deep dive into it
Yeah.
in another podcast. But what are your thoughts on the squad composition or the squad selection?
I agree. I think I want to pick the Shadab topic a bit, right? So, for example, Shadab cannot. We have seen this in T20 World Cup. Uh, cannot ball in international T20 his 4 overs quota. And for us to expect him to bowl 10 overs is sort of it goes beyond me. I am someone who loves Shadab. I think he was a great prodigy who did not, show up. But for Hassan to be consistent with him, and I love all the faith and everything, but at the end of the day, if he's not performing, you have to call it quits at some point.
Yep.
And even Shaheen made some very weird calls. Like, okay, Shadab is your sixth or seventh bowler, whatever you want to call him. Then why are you giving the overs to him when everything has already happened? Like, for example, even when he had lapsed those 10 overs of the fifth bowler, and you have the other rest four of the main bowlers that you can bowl with, which is like Abrar, Shaheen, Haris, and whatever, then why are you going back to him and giving him his full quota? He did it in ODI 1, he did it in ODI 2, yeah, in ODI 3 he performed. लेकिन मुझे भी उस बात से यही मसला है, and I'm sorry to get emotional, कि भाई अगर ODI 3 में उसने परफॉर्म किया है वो इसलिए किया है क्योंकि he had the practice to do it. But the same guy couldn't go to list A and play for like last 10-20 days so that he could get that practice and perform well in ODI 1. So if that's the level of commitment you are giving me as a fan, then you are just showing me that you don't really care about the sport. You're just here to maybe make some bucks or something.
Absolutely. Like I think like my whole issue with the thing is that I think सिर्फ उसे जगह इसलिए ली हुई है because he's an all-rounder, right? Like मुझे इस पाकिस्तानी obsession और let's say इस टीम के think tank के जो obsession है with all-rounders is a little unhealthy,
Yeah.
right? अगर आप उसको बैटर खिला रहे हो तो yes then you don't need to play अब्दुल समद as an example, right? या फिर आप उसको एज अ बैटर खिलाओ
But
क्योंकि
उसके लिए फिर आपके पास बेहतर बैट्समैन है.
that's
Do you
where I'm
think he
coming
is
to.
the best
That's
batsman?
that's that's where I'm
Yeah.
coming to, right? Like अगर आप उसको सिर्फ एज अ बैटर खिला
Yeah.
रहे हो तो then there are better batters. By any means,
Hmm.
sorry to say Amar, मैं इसीलिए भी इस सीरीज को इतना हाईली रेट नहीं करता because I think on the basis of the series you cannot make calls that are 15 months into time, right? Because batters की performances आप उस तरह से I think मैप नहीं होती into South African conditions, bowlers की नहीं होती. I know कि ठीक है
Yeah.
for maybe younger players like Ghazi Gori and Arafat Minhas, By the way, apologies to Ghazi
Mm.
Gori. I think in the previous podcast I might have been a little harsh on him. I think I take not take my words back. I still think Rizwan should be the keeper for the ODI World Cup, but I think the boy did his own credentials no harm by his performances. But anyways, coming back to the
Mm.
topic, मैं ये कहता कि अगर आप as a batter खिलाओ उसको तो there are better options. And then of course the bowler we know there's Sufyan Mukim, Brar, and Arafat who are better spinners than he is. तो मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि अगर आप उसकी जगह एक अहमद दानियाल को एक आधा गेम खिला देते, या अगर आपने हारिस रऊफ की जगह आप नसीम को खिला देते, नसीम खुदा की कसम मेरे ख्याल में पिछले 12 से 14 महीनों में हर स्क्वाड में आता है और खेला 2 गेम्स होगा सिर्फ।
हाँ, वो
लाइक
नहीं खेल, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि दिस इज लाइक सच अ लाइक आई अगेन लाइक आई एम ऑन द साइड ऑफ यस दिस सीरीज विन वाज इम्पोर्टेंट बट इट्स वेरी I don't know, it's very redundant to repeat ourselves and say that, bro, you still, there's no idea of band strength if you don't try them. I don't sit around, and if I'm not being tried on, I don't somehow learn. Yeah, it would work for someone who's never played a game. Okay, you see the, that's a Surya, what's his guy, the 15-year-old, the Surya,
सूर्यवंशी।
I always, yeah, Surya Vanshi. It reminds me of Surya Vansham, the Amitabh Bachchan film. But yeah, Surya Vanshi, now if he remains in that sort of 15-man squad and travels around with the team, then yes, he's learning something because he's never seen that environment.
या
But someone like Naseem Shah, who has gotten like 100 test wickets, I think, he's not learning anything by staying there.
या
And for example, in Sufyan Mukeem's case, he had this, I think, Derby, he had an England, some league contract that he had to let go. He's not earning money. He's sitting on warming the bench with no foresight to see that he can actually play the game, which makes no sense to me.
एब्सोल्युटली 150%। और मतलब दिस सो वियर्ड फॉर मी, मतलब एंड अच्छा मुझे आप ये बताएं कि शदाब खान को आपने किस बेसिस पे टीम में रिकॉल किया है? was it on the basis
Yeah,
of his ODI performances, because the last ODI he's played was in 2023, और 2023 के वर्ल्ड कप में
and
we
yeah,
all know he shat himself, he didn't play to the
yeah,
extent that is expected of an international cricketer. Here, is it on
exactly.
the basis of his performances in the T20 format for Pakistan? Absolutely not. Like
Mm,
he wasn't the best batter or bowler
yeah,
in that tournament as well. I think, in fact, as a bowler, he did cost Pakistan a game or two. But then,
yeah,
was it on the basis of PSL? If yes, then why was Sufyan Mukim not played ahead of him? Because Sufyan Mukim was the best bowler in the PSL. Like, I think
yeah.
यहाँ पे biases वगैरह काफी आ जाते हैं कोचिंग वगैरह के, and it's okay to have
Yeah,
biases.
मुझे लगता है कि so I think so a lot of people are shitting on Hassan, right? मुझे लगता है कि Hassan's even in New Zealand, for example, I think he had an issue with Brendan McCullum, if I remember correctly. And then if I remember correctly, I might be wrong on that, or some player where he like actually had an issue with it and he eventually retired. Hassan has this, maybe people do have this, because he likes certain people and he does not like certain people. If he doesn't like you, then it's difficult for you to come back to his like squad and the other way around as well. I think Shadab is essentially in his good books because he's worked with them Islamabad United. I don't think Hassan is biased in a way that he wants the Dosti Yari, for example, that tag was, but is biased in a way that he thinks he just has a lot of faith in him. And that faith is not repaying. Shadab is not repaying that faith. And because of this problem, it is costing us or will cost us another World Cup or another tournament. Unless Shadab turns this around, then of course we are all for it. Like I am a huge Shadab fan. Like I call him, I think he's the only 4D player in Pakistan. But I just
But I think
always
the
feel
coach
like
himself says he's not 4D anymore. He's a batter, not a
yeah,
bowler anymore.
yeah. But yeah, I think we spent quite a bit of time on that. I think.
Yeah, I think
So
let's
what
move on
I'm,
to
yeah,
the next segment that you had planned.
yeah, which is essentially the player rating. So what I want to do is essentially we'll go to starting from the playing 11, since obviously we didn't change it, so we don't have to rate. You only have to rate 11 players.
Yeah.
So we'll go by openers and then move towards the down the order by batting. The first opener is obviously Sahibzada Farhan. So just to give a bit of stats, right? Sahibzada Farhan made 28 or 33, I think, in the first game. And then game two and game three, he did not really do a lot, to be really honest. I don't have the exact numbers, but I think it was in single digits. For me, Sahibzada has not really worked in ODIs anyway. I don't find him as attractive in ODIs. I think T20s is still maybe his format. But for me, he does not have a passing grade. So let's make it, I think let's copy pro sports because that's what they do. Passing grade is a five, and anything below five is a fail, and anything
Yeah.
above five is a pass. So for me, he does not get a passing grade. Maybe he's like a, I don't know, 3.5 or 3 at best.
I agree. I think I have nothing to add. I agree. I'm not a huge fan of him in ODI team.
The second person is, of course, with him is friend is like Mas Sadakat. In the first two, I think he was very. He was in the first game he was only eight, and the second game was he was out on the third ball, if I remember correctly, and then he scored 27 or 26 in the last match. He also bowled a little, not a lot to be honest, did not impress. But I still think he's very young in terms of his ability to come to, let's say, this scene. And more importantly, I think his fielding effort really does give me some hope that yes, he's
Yeah.
ready to put his body on the line and work towards that. So for me, I will give him a passing grade, maybe an exact five, just so that I don't want to fail a youngster.
Yeah.
Even though Saib Zadafan is also a youngster, but yeah,
Yeah, I feel like Sahib Zaza, I wouldn't call him a youngster per se, but I do feel like for cricketers at the age of 20, 21, 22, they've worked their entire lives to be in the shoes that they are in right now. I
yeah,
wouldn't have selected Maaz Sadakat in the ODI format to start with. I think you had to bring him in the T20 format and then maybe think of longer formats. But if you've given him
yeah.
that debut, you've given him 3 to 4 games. If I'm not wrong, he's played 5 ODIs now for Pakistan, 2 in Bangladesh and 3 in
Mhm.
against Australia. I would give him at least
Yeah,
3 to 4 more games before making that call at
yeah.
whether he suits the team longer term or not, or whether he can serve the team in the ODI World Cup. So yeah, a 5.5 is okay with me here.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I think, yeah, I think let's move to the king, Bob Zigalega. Uh, I think, to be really honest, he was, considering the pitches, he was not bad on the pitches. First match, he scored 69 of 94. And then game two was, I think, 16, 17, did not do very well. Game three, he scored 40 of 84. Now, all of those numbers, obviously, at a lower strike rate around 50. But then again, if you keep the context of the time, context of the game, it is very important for us to remember that like, this was a pitch where everyone was finding difficult to score,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Australia was all out on 57. So I think for me, he scores a very good. Like, he was the highest run scorer for Pakistan overall as well, and I think for me, it's a good 8 or 9.
I agree. I think he did provide us the platform that we needed in 2 of the games that we won. So it's no coincidence that the one game that we end up losing, he couldn't score, move past 16. I do think
Yeah.
people do underrate that aspect of the game, the amount of games we win when he clicks versus the
Mhm.
amount of games we lose when he's not scored runs. Probably dig up that number sometime and come say it out loud for our viewers. But I do feel like that's a high number in all the matches that I've seen for Pakistan over the last 7, 8 years. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Also,
um,
there is this other number that everyone was telling, everyone's discussing it. Let's talk about how many people actually score 50 or 100 when they're betting with Babar Azam. We have a lot of examples that, youngsters, Ghazi Goli in this case, like, a lot of people that sort of are youngsters and they bet with Babar and they score nicely. I
hmm,
think that's also an interesting statistic to be looked at. After Babar Azam, I think a fourth we can take, I don't know, they were changing around a bit, but let's take Salman Ali Aga. Did not really perform well, to be really honest. 6, 7, and 15. Seemed very, I think he got a wicket, an odd wicket, etc., but did not really up to the mark. But I let him slide, maybe like 3 or 4 in this series, but sometimes it happens. He's been great overall for us, so I think it's fine.
yeah, agreed. I
Uh,
think not his best, but I think as a bowler he was pretty decent, especially if you compare him to Shadab. So yeah,
yeah,
4.5,
100%.
maybe a borderline 5 based on the fact that he's generally been a consistent performer for us.
Yeah, I guess. And after that, I think fifth number generally कौन आता था?
I
गाजी
think it
गौरी.
was a mix. Ghazi Gori, sorry, Ghazi Gori आता था. हाँ.
Yeah, Ghazi Ghazi Galat hai. Ghazi Gauri, I think for his not sort of a debut series, he was doing well. He scored 65 of 92, then 37 of 48. I think उसकी टेक्निक बहुत अच्छी लगी मुझे पर्सनली. मुझे पहले नहीं पता था कि कैसा है वो, लेकिन I really liked his technique. He's still very raw. He's new. I liked his attitude as well. He was
Yeah,
very chirpy in the field. Some lapses उसने किए हैं keeping में.
yeah.
I think dropped a catch, etc. But it's okay. I think he's on a learning curve and he will learn. So for me, it'd be like a 7 or 7.5.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think like I said earlier here as well that I personally think Rizwan's the choice for 2027. But having said
Mm.
that, you have to give credit to Ghazi Gori. He was
Yeah.
brilliant for someone under pressure, for someone with a lot of scrutiny as well. He's of course the scrutiny being around that why would you drop Rizwan, etc. etc. And a new guy coming in,
Yeah.
it's never too easy. He's had peers who've had better domestic records than he has, like Saad Beg, Royal Nazir, as well
Yeah.
as Hasibullah. So they were all ahead of
Hmm.
him in the pecking order. If you maybe look back 6 to 12 months ago, for him to step
Yeah.
ahead of the pecking order and then coming in, scoring a 50 was pretty decent in his own resistance knock in game two as well with a 37. So yeah,
Hmm.
overall I would give him a solid 8 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. Since he's also very new, so it makes sense
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
I think after Ghazi Ghazi, I would go towards Arafat maybe before we come to Shadab. I think Arafat was the pick of the
yeah,
lot. He was amazing with the bat. He was obviously, as in not amazing with the bat, but amazing with the ball. He was decent with the bat as well, and it was his debut series. He's still young. I think he showed great attitude. What I don't want to say this, but I saw glimpses of Shadab Khan 2017 Champions Trophy in him. That he had this attitude, he had this rigor where he was making the fielding calls, etc. And to see that, it really warmed my heart. That this is the guy, let's say, both of us have been following through for a very long time.
yeah,
He makes the debut and he really makes it count. And I think he
yeah,
exceeds everyone's expectations. With even Mike Hassan said, like, we weren't expecting, we were expecting Arafat to deliver, but not to this level. So I'm
yeah,
really glad he showed up.
yeah. No, I think 100% a solid
So
10
for
out
me,
of
it's
10
10
for
on 10.
yeah, it's 10 on 10 for
Yeah,
me also.
100%.
And I think it feels like a personal win given that we've both followed him for a while.
Exactly.
I think more shades of Ravindra Jadeja for me than Shadab Khan. I think you could bet on Arafat Minhas bowling at the same length and line in 100
Hmm.
balls out of 100 balls. That's how consistent he was with the ball. But yeah, let's move on. I
100%.
think to someone who we've discussed a lot in the podcast, Shadab Khan.
Yeah.
Stats wise, he was
Yeah. He
pretty
was
decent.
savage. Okay. 100 runs, 2 wickets. Not
Yeah,
too bad.
yeah, I think in terms of pure statistics, I think it was a solid 7.5 out of 10. But
Yeah.
like this brings back the original discussion that I think that is not really worth again having. But I think given the context of the game itself, only on the based on the performance, for me it was a 7.5 out of 10. But do we really need that
Yeah.
context moving forward? I don't think so.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a score for him because it'd be unfair for me to give a low score considering that he did meet those mark. But I just feel like he does not walk into the team.
Yeah,
That's my only problem with him. And
agreed.
then Abdul Samad, to be really honest, I have always been on the edge with Samad. I think he's good. He shows great attitude, but he's not maybe not an ODI player. Last match he did guide us through the win with Shadab. But then again, he's not adding a lot of value for. I think in match one or match two, they sent him on fourth number, and that also wasn't really working. So for me, I will also not really rate Samad.
Just to add a concluding remark on Samad, I think it's just a problem position for Pakistan. If they think that
Hmm.
Samad is the guy, I think it's worth maybe giving him another series to decide whether he's the
Yeah.
finisher for the ODI World Cup. But yeah, moving on.
After that, I think for me, the highlight was obviously Haris Rauf. I don't know how people will criticize him, of course, but he was opening the new ball, but he was much better than I've ever seen him. Like, I think he was consistent with the line and length. I know he did not take a lot of wickets, but he was still, he took 4 wickets, but he was very consistent with where he was bowling. And that's not, we don't see that often in Haris Rauf, even in, let's say series matches, not even just tournaments, but series matches. We don't see that often. So it was. I was really glad to see that he was consistently bowling well. So I'll give him a passing grade. Unless you have anything to add, we can move forward.
Yeah, yeah, let's move forward.
I think Shaheen also led from the front. He had like 3 for 36 in game two and 3 for 30 in the last game. Bowled really well. I think he generally does well in ODIs. I don't know why people criticize him in ODIs. I think he's great in ODIs. It is T20s and tests that I really question him.
Yeah,
But I think for me, he's as good as Arafat. But obviously, he's a senior, so that's given him an 8. And yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I
Abrar
think
was okay.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Abrar was okay. I think he was decent. I would have actually liked if you
Mm.
could have given one game to Sufyan instead of
Yeah,
Abrar. I think he really earned it. But nevertheless, I think
yeah,
Abrar
100%.
was steady. I think I wasn't wouldn't call him outstanding, but he was steady. And for me, he was
Yeah,
a
he
sort
was.
of 7.5 out of 10. Not bad,
Yeah,
not great.
I just feel like playing him 3 games did not tell you anything. It just showed you, yeah, he's a good option. He's a great option.
Yeah,
But that's about it. Like he will always remain there.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it since we only played 11 players. And yeah, I think it's a time where I feel like we should celebrate the keep the questions, and that's where the series sort of ends for me. I'm glad that we had this conversation and sort of vented it out. But
Yeah.
let's see how West Indies, England, and other series go towards as we move towards 2027. But stay tuned. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Apologies for once again for the Zoom podcast. We'll make sure to be in person
Yeah.
next time around. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and see you next week. Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.